Welcome to Nevertheless, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you will discover how to discern your essence and live powerful.
Hello and welcome. This is Bidemi Mark-Mordi, and it is Nevertheless the show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. I'm excited to bring this show your way because it's filled with excitement and, on one hand, trepidation, what I want to share on today's show. How did you fare in the last 1 week? Thank you so much to all of you who have been downloading and sharing our show. It feels really good to be able to announce that we have crossed the 10,000 download mark, for this show. And that for me is huge, considering that every single show we put out, sometimes I wonder if anyone will listen. And I want to especially congratulate everyone who's downloaded in the month of May. We've hit in the month of May. Today is the 19th of May, and over 800 people have downloaded. That is huge, considering that, this is something we just do. Thank you so much to everyone who's been sharing our link. Thank you. I can't help but say thank you to Lanre Agbola on Twitter. Boy, you do a great job of retweeting us. Thank you so much. At Moronke Opemalomo, thank you so much. I want to give a shout out to my girl May Najib. Congratulations on the birth of your daughter Shomi. It's just been a great time. Thank you Stella Ikobolu for the feedback, very valuable feedback you bring our way. I'm so grateful to all of you. It's because you listen that we do this show. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to Emeka Nobis. Something strange is happening to us here, and Emeka Novice is the driver of that. If you ever think that you want to create exceptional content, I suggest that you talk to Emeka Novice. He is the master of that art, and he's helping us, push something, the new baby that we're trying to birth from Verbatims. Thank you, Emeka, for all the work that you do. Honestly, we see your signature in this work, and we're grateful. Thank you. Of course, this is a day of gratitude. Because I'm excited, I want to say thank you to Ini Akman. Thank you for joining me on this trip. It's going to be fun, I know, to have you traveling with me. Thank you to Afolabi for all the hard work you do. Afolabi, I know that sometimes it feels like you're underappreciated, but the truth of the matter is you do great work. And more than the fact that I know that you do great work is the fact that I know that God knows that you do great work, and He will reward you. Well, let's put all of that out there. I'm so grateful to God to be alive today, and we want to quickly send a word of prayer out to heaven for the passengers of the Egypt Air flight that went missing yesterday. Our prayers are that God would make a way and that every one of them will be found. This we pray in Jesus' name. Thank you for joining our show today. When I come back, I'm going to be reviewing what we did last week, and then we'll move on to today's show. Welcome. The name is Bidemi Mark-Mordi, and it's a pleasure to have you.
Are you frustrated and tired of life? Do you feel trapped in life's maze and don't seem to find your way? Or are you passionate about your purpose and destiny and want to find out more? Then get a copy of DNA. DNA, Destiny Navigational Application, is a book written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, where she coaches you to distill the answer to the cry of purpose, mandate, and significance. She teaches you how to discern your essence, discover your God-given mandate, deploy power, and demonstrate dominion. Get a copy of Destiny Navigational Application from any bookstore near you, or call 234-813-360-2883, or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order now.
We're back, and it's a pleasure to be back. Last week we looked at 4 different ways to earn with your gift, how to earn with your gift in 4 different ways. That show was a huge success. It was a blessing to us because it opened our eyes to see avenues that we're not yet tapping, just as we have received feedback from other people that it's been a blessing to them. 4 ways to purpose your gifts so that you can earn. In an economy like the one we are in, obviously everyone needs an additional stream of income. And for me, there's no better way. It cannot be more exciting to know that more than one stream of income was an idea from God. It wasn't an idea from the economists and the entrepreneurs. For me, that's the hugest, if there's a word like that, the greatest thing that has come out of that show. Thank you so much to all of you who are out there and are pushing, because you know that God has put a value in you and you want to bless the world with it. Your reward surely will come. So what are we going to be talking about today? Before I get to what we'll be talking about today, I want to tell my sisters to begin to prepare. Something great is going to happen in July 16th to be precise. It's my birthday. And I'd like to receive a birthday present from all of you. And the gift I really want from you is not a pagan issue. That would be nice, but that's not what I'm looking for. A car would be great, but that's not what I ask for. A house would be fantastic, but that's not what I ask for. I just ask that you be present at the Return of the Helper conference in Lagos, Nigeria. Your presence is all that I'm asking for as a gift that day because it's my birthday. But beyond the fact that you're going to come to give yourself as a gift, the gift of your presence that day to me, come and allow the Lord to midwife you into destiny. Return of the Helper this year is themed the birthing stool. And I assure you, every woman who walks in through those doors, who is truly carrying something and is carried to term, I promise you that will birth in the name of Jesus. Our speaker lineup is fantastic. We have Pastor Mark-Mordi. She's going to be speaking to us, and if you've heard this woman before, she's just fantastically graced. And of course, Coach Anna McCoy will be in our midst. She'll be speaking. Linda Wallace, the one we call Mama Linda, will be there as well, all the way from the United States of America. And then of course my humble self, I'll be there. I know that God has prepared something great for you at the Return of the Helper Conference, July 16th, 2016. Join us. It's our night edition, and it is the edition where the Lord wants to bring us to the birthing stool. Invite your girlfriends, invite your sisters, guys, invite your wives. Make plans in advance, and I promise you, a turnaround is coming your way. When I come back, we'll really now delve into today's show.
Introducing Dukia Radio, a new online purpose and leadership talk radio for the family. Follow us on Twitter at Dukia Radio and like our Facebook page, Dukia Radio. Dukia Radio, giving life full expression. Coming soon.
Welcome back. It's still Nevertheless, and my name still is Bidemi Mark-Mordi. Today I want us to talk about being a big fish in a small pond. Being a big fish in a small pond. Do you know how when you start to live the dream life, it's very exciting? At least that's how it was for me, and I have coached a number of people through birthing new dreams, and I can tell you that it's usually very exciting. Regardless of how small your dream is, when you start, is usually fantastically exciting. Yes, I'm enamored with the word fantastically, and I'm sure you know why. However, after a while, this excitement begins to wane. But before it wanes, there is so much that happens when you start small. You begin to feel valuable. That was how I felt. As tiny as the first Effectual magazine we ever published looked like, I felt like I had just, saved the world. That was the way it felt to me. It felt good. It felt really exciting to be able to bring that. Now that I look at it, I'm not ashamed, I'm proud of it, but I ask myself, what did people see in this thing that they bought it all that time that we were peddling it? But I remember that when we started that magazine, it was with great pride I would usually show that to people to say, this is what I do. And then it grew from that newsletter format to a black and white, a one color magazine, then, sports color magazine, then ultimately to a full process color magazine. And with all of this, evolving, the gains were, compounding and things were getting better, even financially for us. So when you start a new dream, it's really very exciting. It's very exciting because one, the first major excitement is you now see that you can be useful. And then in starting small, there are a lot of advantages that, accrue to us. The opportunity to tweak and not have to rock too many boats. The ability to be able to just collapse because you started small if you realize that what it is that you're doing is not what you want to do. So small is good, and the exciting of being small is good. But here's the thing about small. If you are diligent about small gets to grow. But the thing that usually happens to most of us is while we start in a really small pond and we begin to be diligent and do the things that make us grow, we forget that we're in a small pond. Until one day you wake up and you try to swim and you are hitting every side of the pond and you begin to think something is closing in on me. You begin to feel kind of claustrophobic. You begin to think that everything is, I don't know the word I'm looking for. Maybe everything is now calculated to ruin your life. What used to be exciting for you has now become so small because you have grown so much that you begin to look at it and you begin to think, what am I doing with this? Now, most people, when they get into that space, they become discouraged. But I bring you good news. If you have ever started anything and gotten to the point where you are feeling like, this is not good enough anymore, you are in great company. It means that you have become very big fish in a small pond. Small ponds are good because they help you hone your skills. Small ponds are good because they help you build confidence. Small ponds are good because they help you see yourself for who you truly are. Small ponds are good because they validate the value that you bring. Small ponds are good because they inspire smaller fish. But after a while, you cannot remain in your small pond. Especially when you begin to feel like the place that you are is too small for you. In the Bible, there was a story of the children of Israel that had been going round and round a particular mountain, even though God had shown them the promised land. After a while, they kept praying, Father, grow us. And God had to come and say to them, you know what? You've circled this mountain long enough. It is time for you to move. And sometimes in moving, God will pull the carpet off our feet so that we can begin to go. But you see, I'm talking about not allowing the carpet to be pulled from beneath you. I'm saying make the decision. Recognize that you have become a big fish in a small pond and make the decision by yourself to transition to the next level. How do you recognize that you are there? That you've become a big fish in a small pond? I'll tell you my story. In the year 2000, I started a women's ministry. And this ministry started to grow. But it was growing around people that I knew, my friends in church, just people in my neighborhood. What that meant was that if there was a wedding in church, attendance at meetings would drop. Because the same people who should have attended the meetings have had to go for a church wedding, that because I'm convening a meeting, I cannot attend. And it became onerous to do this by yourself. I knew the value that I was bringing, but my catchment area was too limiting. So I started to talk to God. And I started to talk to God to say, Lord, please bring people Lord, please bring people. Let these women, how you begin to pray those prayers that don't make sense. Prayers like, Lord, don't let them slate weddings on the day when we have ministry meetings. But the Lord had to come to me to say, stop praying those prayers. You are in a very small pond. You need to cast your net wider. And I'm glad to say that when we did that, things opened up and we started to have attendances from outside our immediate environment. And that was really good because it helped us. But then we continued to do what we were doing. Effectual Magazine started in 2003 and things started to grow. And in 2010 again, I started to feel Effectual was now well known, but I was still running that ministry that I mentioned in my immediate environment. I wouldn't step out of that environment. Yet the Lord came to me and said, it is time for you to move to the next level. And I was wondering, how would the next level happen? And guess what God did? God actually told me to shut down the pond and go fish elsewhere. And I will tell you the truth, in stepping out of my comfort zone, because when you become a big fish in a small pond, it's about being in a comfort zone. So by the time I got to that point, I just realized that I had to go, but I was so scared of what I will find when I get into the big pond. I thought about the sharks that will be in the river. I talked about the whales. I talked about the other species of fish that I didn't know anything about that I may come across. I thought about other animals that live in big or large expanse of water that I had never seen before. And I was scared. Honestly, I was scared. But the Lord asked me to move. So I did the sensible thing, which was to obey, and I obeyed. And I cannot stop counting. I can't stop counting the gains that have come out of that. So much gain has come out of that stepping out. Now, if we think about it, have you ever been in a place where you are in a small pond, but you've grown to be a big fish? Someone asked me, what happens when you are a big fish in a very small pond? What happens to that fish? And I remember about a fortnight ago, I was sharing somewhere and I was talking about being a big fish in a small pond. And someone said to me that she actually read somewhere about a fish who, was bred in a very small pond. But this species of fish was meant to be a really big fish. That what happened to the fish was it grew, and when it couldn't grow further because of the size of the pond, it started to take the shape of the pond. What that means is, if you are a big fish in a small pond and you don't recognize what that is and you remain there, the only thing that can happen to you is that you will become like that environment. And while that is growth, is not the kind of growth you want. If you recognize how the way fishes grow, fish grow straight. But when a fish begins to take the shape of a pond, what that means is that that fish has become deformed. And that was what happened to that fish. So if you are a big fish in a small pond and you can recognize that you are a big fish in a small pond, can I tell you that you would become deformed if you remain in this pond? When I come back, I'll share an example with you from the Bible. Don't go away.
In a world filled with many fears and discouragements, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life's just simple. Don't worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi shares powerful insight and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless from a bookstore near you or call 234-813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimark-mordi.com to place your order now. I guarantee you will make it nevertheless.
Welcome back. The show is still Nevertheless, and we're looking at being a big fish in a small pond. In the book of Judges, I saw a story, and it's the story of a man known as Gideon. Gideon is of the tribe of Israel. Actually belongs to, I think, the smallest tribe, and I think that was supposed to be the tribe Manasseh. Gideon and his people had been under siege from enemies for a while. That the Bible said that when they plant their crops and it was harvest time and they start to harvest, that the enemies would swoop on them and take what it was that they had worked for. It got so bad that by the time this story opened up, Gideon was right in the cave and he was threshing wheat. And if you know anything about threshing wheat, you don't thresh wheat in a cave. You thresh wheat up on the mountain so that you can take advantage of the wind, so that the chaff can be separated from the wheat. But Gideon was so afraid. He was a big fish in his DNA, but he had stayed too much in a small pond that he didn't know how to act like a big fish anymore. So Gideon went into the cave and started to thresh wheat. And the Bible said that an angel of the Lord came to him in that cave and referred to him as Almighty Man of Valor. That was the angel saying to Gideon, you are supposed to be a great man. What are you doing hiding here? And unfortunately, Gideon could not see it. Gideon took a look at himself and took a look at the angel, and he wondered, are you talking to me? And Gideon started to reel out his credentials out of living in a small pond. He said, I am the smallest, I am the youngest of my father's house. My father's house is the smallest of my tribe. My tribe is the smallest tribe in Israel. It's not where you are coming from that determines whether you are a big fish. It is what you partner with God to become that determines whether you are a big fish or not. So Gideon, even though God had called him from the beginning of time as a big fish, because he stayed in a small pond, became so small that he had to enter a cave to thresh wheat. Are you that person who you know in your DNA that you've been called to do great things, but somehow you've not been able to do them because your environment is too small? Maybe today is the day that your deliverance comes. What that means is today is that day when you break forth. I know you can't see what tomorrow holds, but today is the day to break forth. Because when you remember that story that I talked about, the story of Gideon, by the time the angel made him understand that he was talking about him, Gideon rose up, and the courage nobody knew Gideon had, Gideon began to exhibit that courage to the extent that Gideon went and took down a whole nation with 300 men. That's how big a fish Gideon was, and he was hiding in the small pond inside of the cave. I also remember the story when Peter went fishing with his friends, and they toiled all night but caught nothing. Jesus asked for the use of his boat, and when they had been done, Jesus had been done using his boat, Jesus said to Peter, cast your net into the deep. What does that mean? There are some things that you have been optimized and called to do that you cannot deliver on in the environment that you are in right now. The question someone asked me is, how do you now recognize when your environment has become a small pond? How do you recognize that you've become a big fish in a small pond? The first thing that I know is the discomfort that you begin to feel. Imagine that if you are a fish that's maybe 6 feet long, and you are in a pond that is like maybe 5 feet, a few inches. There's no way you would be comfortable in that pond as the fish. So the first way to know that you are a big fish in a small pond is the discomfort. I'm not talking of, environmental discomfort. I'm talking about the discomfort from the inside out. That thing inside of you that is crying, that people are looking at you from the outside and they are saying to you, oh wow, you are a big fish. But you are looking at yourself and you're thinking, what am I doing in this small pond? Then it is time to move. When you begin to feel that discomfort. How about the frustration of everything you produce now as a big fish in a small pond? You take a look at it and you say to yourself, this is not good enough. When you begin to have that dissatisfaction of it's not good enough, it can be better, then automatically you need to know that you have become a big fish and you have stayed too long in a tiny pond. So I am also sharing and talking about myself, because I have been a big fish in a small pond for a long time, and it is time for me to transition into a bigger pond. I don't think that the pond I'm entering now is the ultimate big pond, but I promise you it's going to be bigger than the pond I have been. To that end, we are working really hard. I spent all of yesterday recording my first video product for Purpose University. Purpose University is that place you come to and all your purpose questions can be answered. Whatever that question will be. All the issues that plague you concerning purpose, if you come to Purpose University, they will be resolved. I promise you that. So, to move into a bigger pond, I have had to enlist other fish who know how to swim in big ponds. So I'm taking additional swimming and survival lessons in big ponds. But I promise you that in the end, it's going to be a great time inside of that pond. So please join me in moving into this larger pond. Like my Facebook page, Bidemi Mark-Mordi, that's my professional page. Like that page, because all the information on Purpose University will be coming via that angle. And if you have not subscribed to to be on our mailing list, this is the time, if you have purpose questions, to get on our mailing list, because we will be releasing weekly information that brings you closer to the launch of Purpose University. Now that is said, let me make a confession quickly, that as a big fish in a small pond transitioning into a bigger pond, I can assure you that I know that this is a brand new learning curve for me. I know without even thinking that when I get into this pond, there will be things that I have never had to deal with before that I will have to deal with. But you see, in all that fear, I am stepping forward. In all the insecurity of I am not sure what I'm doing, I'm stepping forward. And the simple reason why I have to take this step is because I know that the pond where I'm at right now is become too small for me. I need to enlarge the place of my tent. That's the way the Bible says it in Isaiah 54. So even when you decide to transition from your small pond today into a bigger pond, I promise you that you will feel insecure. I promise you that you will be blindsided sometimes. I promise you that there will be things that you did not take into account that will show up. I promise you that you will have to learn new language, because the language of the small pond is different from the language of the big pond. But I assure you that if you stick with it, like I'm going to stick with it, very soon, even this seemingly big pond will become a small pond for you. Because what God has created all of us to be in our DNA is extremely big fish. You cannot afford to remain in a small pond. Remember that when you remain too long as a big fish in a small pond, that's the only thing that can result is that you either reduce your standard to the standard of the small pond by becoming deformed by the small pond, or you actually die. But my prayer is you will not die. So it is time to step out. Wake up. Shake the shackles off. Say goodbye to comfort. Say goodbye to familiar. And today step into unfamiliar territory. Because that which you seek cannot be found in this pond. I've looked at it. I'm done with fishing, crocodile. I'm done with catfish. And why these serve their purpose? It is time to haul the shark in. It is time to bring in the whale. It is time to bring in freshwater fish. And that cannot happen in a small pond. So what are the insecurities that you may face? They will be peculiar to you. But I know that one of the things that I face is this voice in my head that is constantly saying to me that I do not have the content to run a university. But while that voice is constantly playing in my head, I have decided that I will not let it stop me, because going forward is what I will do, and going forward I shall go. So for you to, whatever the peculiarity of your of stepping out will be, the insecurities will be, I beg you, I encourage you not to run back to your small pond. Because here is even the thing about small ponds. When you leave the small pond as a big fish, other fish take your place. So if you have stepped out, there is really nothing to go back to in the small pond. So if I were you, I would just begin to do what I need to do so that I can survive in this fresh water that you've now stepped into. I am praying for you, just as I crave and I ask that you pray for me. Your support is critical in ensuring that Purpose University is a success. I need your support. Remember that I'm no longer a big fish. I'm now a small fish in a very big pond. And all the support that I can get will be useful to me. So please, when you come on my Facebook page, share the link with your friends. When you receive the email, forward it to people you know might need it. And please help me build this. And I promise you that the same way you help me build, you will find help even for your own transition into big ponds or into fresh water in Jesus' name. Finally, I don't want to leave you gloomy or insecure about this transition into the big pond. I want to leave you with excitement in my heart. And I hope you can feel it, that I know this is a great time we're moving into. I know this pond is going to do us good. I know that this transition is going to birth greatness. More than anything that I'm excited about is the fact that I know that this transition will afford us and will afford me the opportunity of touching more lives and creating greater value than what it is that I have been given. That is the excitement of transitioning from your small pond into a big pond. So, yes, you listening to me right now, where you are right now is become too small. It is time to step out. When you step out, you'll be able to stretch, you'll be able to spread your wings, and you'll be able to fly. And I promise you that all the people who are looking at you because you are an inspiration to many, even as a big fish in a small pond, will begin to receive the motivation and the inspiration to step into a bigger space as well. Small ponds are the stuff that comfort zones and familiar territories are made of. And that's not what you are called to. Spread your wings today as I spread my wings. Come, let's fly together. Let's discover places unknown. Let's create value even we didn't know we could create. Till next week when I'll come your way again, don't forget to pray for me and for Purpose University, because we are doing this. And I said that for my benefit more than your benefit. We are doing this. And never forget that when you discover your purpose, you live a powerful life. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this show. I do hope that you will share with your friends. God bless you.
Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 0813-360-2883 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimark-mordi.com. Don't forget that when you discover your purpose, you will live powerful.